April 8th, 1943, 27,000 feet above Rouen, France. The B-17 Halcyon mare shudders in the thin air as flak bursts bloom like black, violent flowers around her silver skin. The smell of burnt cordite and freezing oxygen leaks, mixes with the metallic tang of fear. Inside the trembling fuselage, Sergeant Daniel Rowe, age 22, radio operator, braces himself as another shell detonates close, too close, rattling the oxygen masks on their hooks. The intercom crackles. "Bandits, 3 o'clock." The voice of Staff Sergeant Lewis, the right waist gunner, is half drowned by engine roar. Daniel instinctively crouches lower over his radio set, the green glow of the instruments casting a ghostly sheen on his face. The bomber banks left hard, and you, if you were standing there in the fuselage, could feel the rivets straining as the entire aircraft groans under the maneuver. The winds scream through small cracks in the frame. Frost forms along the edges of Daniel's gloves as he steadies himself and reaches into the breast pocket of his flight jacket. A folded envelope. The one he hasn't mailed yet. The one he'll never get the chance to. He had written it the night before in the dim barracks light, listening to the distant rumble of other squadrons taking off into the English night. The handwriting inside is uneven from turbulence and exhaustion, but the words are unmistakable. A letter to his younger sister, Anna. "I'll be home in time to see the apple trees bloom. Don't let Ma worry too much. Tell her the skies aren't as bad as they say." He had smiled when writing it, a soft, private smile, one of a man who knows fear but chooses hope anyway. A jolt. The B-17 drops several feet as a cluster of flak explodes beneath her belly. Daniel's head snaps up. The intercom screams again. This time it's Captain Harold Keene, the pilot. "Radio, get a message to base. Number 3 engine is hit, losing oil pressure." Daniel pushes the letter back into his jacket, closes the flap, and slams himself into the seat before the radio transmitter. His fingers dance over switches with familiar precision. Static hisses as he tunes the frequency. He keeps his breathing steady, forcing the panic deep into his stomach. Outside, the sky is chaos. Messerschmitt BF-109 streak past like gray-blue knives, their engines snarling as they punch holes through the bomber formation. Tracers arc upward from the ground, threads of orange light weaving a deadly net. Daniel's headset crackles. "Halcyon mare, this is Red Crown, send your status. Over." He begins transmitting their damage report, voice steady. But even as he speaks, he catches Lewis shouting again from the starboard side. "2 coming in, low." The guns thunder. Each .50 caliber round vibrates through the entire airframe. You can almost hear Daniel's heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of machine gun fire, fast, sharp, relentless. A scream echoes through the fuselage. Daniel twists around just in time to see Corporal Hensley, the ball turret gunner, yelling something unintelligible. The turret has frozen mid-rotation, a mechanical failure, a death sentence. But Daniel can't leave his post. Captain's orders. And orders are the last anchors a man has when the world is falling apart at 27,000 feet. The bomber lurches again as a 20mm cannon shell rips through the port wing, sending a shower of aluminum fragments slicing through the interior. A fragment grazes Daniel's cheek, leaving a thin streak of blood that freezes almost instantly. He wipes it without thinking, more annoyed than afraid. He finishes the transmission. "Message sent, Captain." No reply. Only silence, the engines, and the distant crackle of gunfire. Daniel tries again. "Captain?" Then finally, "Hit. Controls failing. Hold tight." The voice is distorted, strained. The kind of voice a man uses when he sees something you don't want him to describe. Daniel glances at the sealed letter in his pocket. A sudden calm washes over him. He thinks of the apple trees, of his mother's hands dusted with flour, of Anna running barefoot in the yard, of a world where the sky isn't shredded by flak and smoke. The bomber banks violently, throwing him against the bulkhead. His headset flies off. He scrambles to his feet instinctively, bracing against the side as the B-17 begins to lose altitude. The tail section groans under the stress. Loose equipment rattles across the floor. The temperature drops further. His breath comes out in white bursts that disappear into the darkness. Another explosion. This one closer, brighter, shaking the aircraft like a giant's fist. Daniel doesn't fall. He doesn't scream. He simply reaches up, grabs the nearest support beam, and steadies himself, eyes fixed forward toward the cockpit, toward whatever comes next. The Halcyon mare is dropping fast now. The altimeter needle trembles as the B-17 sinks through a cloud of black smoke trailing from its wounded engine. The oxygen warning light flickers. The air thins. The cold deepens. The world outside becomes a blur of gray sky and streaking tracer fire. Sergeant Daniel Rowe forces his way toward the cockpit, gripping the frigid handrails bolted to the fuselage. Every step is a battle against the aircraft's violent shuddering. He passes the bomb bay. Empty now, doors partly jammed open like wounded jaws. Beneath him, burned hydraulic fluid drips in slow, syrupy plinks. A voice echoes from the waist section. Dan, get back." It's Staff Sergeant Lewis, still at the right waist gun, his face pale beneath the frost forming on his goggles. He's pointing past Daniel, toward the port side. Smoke is pouring from a ragged hole torn through the fuselage. The wind howls through it, sucking loose maps, rags, and bits of insulation into the sky. Daniel shouts back, "I've got to get to the captain." Lewis tries to answer, but the howl of the slipstream steals the words from his mouth. He fires another burst at a passing BF-109, the recoil jolting him backward. Daniel presses on. The cockpit door is jammed halfway off its hinges. He wedges his shoulder into the gap, pushes, and forces it open. Captain Harold Keene is still at the controls, barely. His co-pilot, Lieutenant McCall, is slumped against the glass, blood seeping from a wound near his temple. A spiderweb of cracks spreads across the canopy. Keene glances over his shoulder. His oxygen mask hangs loose, his lips blue. "Rowe, tell me you got the message out." Daniel nods, steadying himself with a hand on the back of the pilot's seat. "They know we're hit. Rescue will be ready." Keene gives a faint smirk, a tired one. "Assuming we don't fall into the channel first?" He yanks the control yoke, trying to level the wings. They respond sluggishly, like dragging a dead weight through water. Another shell detonates outside. Shrapnel slices into the side window. McCall's body jerks from the impact. Daniel flinches, instinctively shielding his face. "We can't stay with the formation," Keene growls. "If we drop out now, they'll swarm us." Daniel doesn't have to look to know he's right. Fighter doctrine is simple. Stragglers die first. A deep, metallic groan echoes through the bomber, the sound of a wing spar under impossible stress. Daniel swallows. "Sir, orders?" Keene doesn't answer immediately. His eyes track the broken horizon, calculating distances, fuel, wind, fate. Then, "I tell the crew to prepare to bail out." The words hit like a punch to the chest. Even when you expect them, they still feel like betrayal, an admission that the bomber, their steel guardian, is dying. Daniel nods once and turns to leave, but he hesitates at the doorway. Keene sees it. "Something on your mind, Sergeant?" Daniel reaches into his jacket. The letter. Still folded. Still warm from his body heat. Still waiting for a moment that may never come. He looks at it, thumb brushing the edge of the envelope, and says quietly, "It's for my sister. I thought I'd mail it after we landed." Keene's eyes soften. Not with pity. Pilots don't pity their crew. Only understanding. "Give it to the crew chief before you jump. He'll make sure it gets sent." Daniel nods and starts down the vibrating corridor toward the radio compartment. The plane tilts again, throwing him against the bulkhead. Smoke thickens behind the bomb bay. Flames lick up the interior ribbing, painting the aluminum walls in orange and black. He coughs, pulls his scarf over his mouth, and pushes through. Corporal Hensley, the ball turret gunner, is out of the turret now, pale and shaking. "You hear the order?" Daniel shouts. Hensley nods weakly. "Bailing out?" Yeah, God." The intercom crackles again. Lewis in the waist section. "They're coming back around. 2 fighters on our tail." Daniel's stomach knots. He grips the letter harder. "Move to the chute line," he yells. The bomber dips again, suddenly, violently, like an elevator cable snapping. Daniel clings to the radio desk, his boots slipping on the frosted floor. The tail section shakes, metal screams. A cannon round punches through the fuselage near Lewis's gun position. Daniel sees it. Just for a moment, a burst of flame, a spray of debris. Lewis disappearing into smoke. "Lewis!" No answer. Only the wind, the fire, and the dying heartbeat of 4 engines struggling to keep a doomed bird aloft. Daniel stumbles backward, breath ragged. The letter crinkles in his fist. The only piece of home left in this burning world. The letter trembles in Daniel's fist as the halcyon mare groans in its death spiral. The interior lights flicker wildly, casting frantic shadows that leap across the smoking fuselage. Frosted air turns the smoke into a swirling gray fog. Every breath tastes of burning oil and aluminum dust. Daniel pushes himself upright, boots slipping on the vibrating floor, and scans for survivors through the haze. "Lewis!" His voice cracks, swallowed by the grinding of the failing engines. No movement, no answer. Only the right waist gun swings limply in its mount, the smoking hole beside it glowing faint red around the edges. Daniel forces himself forward, one hand sliding along the cold support beams. He passes the open bomb bay again, wind ripping through like a living animal clawing at his jacket, trying to pull him into the clouds below. The plane lurches, the floor tilts sharply. He grips the rail and shouts toward the rear. "Everyone forward! Chutes on! We're bailing out! Move!" Through the chaos, figures stagger into view. Corporal Hensley, Private Norton, the tail gunner, limping and clutching his side. Sergeant Vargas from the top turret, goggles cracked and face streaked with soot. They move like men in a nightmare, slow, unsteady, half-blind. Daniel grabs a parachute pack from the wall and slams it into Norton's hands. "Get it on, now." Norton nods, biting down a groan. His fingers tremble as he secures the harness. Behind them, the aft fuselage groans under another impact. A fighter's cannon shell rips through the tail, showering them with fragments. Norton screams as a shard grazes his arm. Daniel shields him, then shoves him toward the bomb bay catwalk. "Go! Jump as soon as you clear it." Norton nods and staggers forward. The bomber drops again, nose pitching down. Daniel slams into the bulkhead. His ears ring. The engines roar like wounded beasts, coughing bursts of flame. Through the noise, the intercom bursts alive with Captain Keene's strained voice. What's all remaining crew? Jump. That's an order. Do it now. Another explosion rocks the cockpit. The transmission dies in a burst of static. Daniel's breath shakes. He looks down at the letter again, creased, crumpled, smudged with soot and blood. He presses it to his chest for a moment. Just a little further, he whispers to no one. Smoke stings his eyes as he pushes toward the catwalk. Norton has reached the edge and prepares to jump. Hensley and Vargas are waiting just behind him. Daniel sees the panic in their faces, fear so raw it makes them look young again. One at a time! Move! Daniel shouts. Norton hesitates at the open doors, staring into the churning clouds below. Daniel grips his shoulder. The chute will hold. Go! Norton nods and jumps. A second later, another burst of tracer fire rakes the bomber from behind. The plane jerks so violently that Hensley is thrown sideways. He slams into the catwalk railing. The metal gives way with a shriek. Hensley! Daniel lunges and catches him just before he falls into the open bay. Hensley's gloved hands claw desperately at Daniel's sleeves. Don't let me go, he gasps. I won't, Daniel growls through clenched teeth, pulling him up inch by inch. But the bomber tilts again, steeper, almost vertical. Gravity drags them both toward the open sky. Daniel roars as he heaves Hensley back onto the catwalk. Vargas helps pull him the rest of the way. Hensley collapses, shaking violently. No time. Daniel pushes him toward the door. Jump! Now! Hensley looks up, eyes wide, then stumbles forward and hurls himself into the sky. Vargas follows. A sudden bang echoes from the front of the aircraft, deep, metallic, catastrophic. Daniel knows instantly what it is. The No. 3 engine has torn free of its mount. The plane rolls sharply right, nearly flipping. The world outside becomes a spinning blur of earth and cloud. Daniel is thrown off his feet. The letter flies from his hand. No! It twists in the air, carried by the violent wind, drifting toward the open bomb bay. He scrambles after it on hands and knees, slipping across the tilting floor, reaching, almost, another jolt. The letter is sucked into the open sky and disappears. Daniel freezes, arm outstretched. It's gone. He closes his eyes, just for a heartbeat, then forces himself up again. His chest aches, but there's no time to feel it. The bomber is breaking apart around him. Smoke fills the corridor. Flames lick the walls. The tail section trembles, like it's about to shear off. Daniel clips on his parachute. He steps to the bomb bay, wind screaming past him. He looks back once, only once, into the burning fuselage he has lived in for months. The place where he laughed, wrote letters, prayed he'd see home again. Then he jumps. The world becomes wind and white sky. Above him, in the distance, the Halcyon Mare begins its final descent, flames trailing her like a comet falling toward the earth. Daniel falls through the sky, spinning, weightless and deafened by the roar of the wind. The clouds tear past him in white streaks. His hands fumble for the parachute ripcord as the world flips end over end. His heart slams against his ribs. His vision blurs. He forces himself to inhale. Cold, sharp, burning. Then he pulls. The chute snaps open with a violent jolt that whips his body upright. The straps bite into his shoulders. Pain shoots down his spine. But he is alive. The wind slows. The world steadies. The roar fades into a soft, rushing hum. Daniel's boots dangle beneath him as he sways gently through the open sky over northern France. Below, fields stretch out in patchwork greens and browns, cut by narrow dirt roads and stone farmhouses. Smoke rises from the distant town, Rouen burning under the raid. Far behind him, a fireball blossoms in the sky. Daniel turns just in time to see a large, flaming shape falling through the clouds, the Halcyon Mare, breaking apart as it plummets toward the earth. A piece of wing spirals away in a trail of smoke. Then a dull, thunderous boom rolls across the countryside. Daniel's eyes sting, not from the smoke. He whispers to the wind, "Thank you, Hal, for getting us this far." A second parachute drifts not far from him. Vargas. Another, farther ahead, Hensley. Norton's chute is already near the fields. He counts again. Lewis? McCall? Captain Keene. A knot tightens in Daniel's chest. He searches the sky, turning in slow circles, hoping, just hoping, to see another white canopy. Nothing. The wind carries him toward a cluster of tall trees at the edge of a wheat field. His chute tugs, dragging him sideways. Come on, he mutters, bracing. He slams into the branches. Fabric tangles. Leaves whip his face. Gravity yanks him downward, and he crashes through the limbs until the chute catches, jerking him to a stop. He dangles 6 feet off the ground. Groaning, Daniel unclips the straps and drops into the grass below. The earth feels unreal beneath him after hours in the air. Birds scatter at the impact. The countryside is eerily quiet. No gunfire, no engines, only distant sirens from the city and the soft whisper of wind through wheat. He rises to one knee, heart still racing, and checks his pockets. Rations, dog tags, a torn map, a half-used box of ammunition. Then he reaches for the inner pocket of his jacket. Empty. The letter's gone. He stands there, chest tight, staring at the horizon as if expecting it to flutter back to him. It doesn't. But something else draws his attention. Voices. Soft at first, then clearer. French, urgent. Daniel instinctively drops to the ground, crawling to the shadow of a fallen tree. Through the tall wheat, he sees two figures approaching from the footpath. A man and a woman, both in worn civilian clothing, moving cautiously. He holds his breath. The woman spots one of the parachutes in the field and gasps, pointing. The man whispers something and gestures for her to stay back. He moves forward alone, clutching a satchel tightly against his chest. Daniel can't risk waiting. He rises slowly, hands raised, stepping into the open. "Américain!" the woman exclaims, her voice hushed but relieved. The man freezes, then approaches him quickly, eyes darting toward the distant village. "Vite, vite," he whispers. "The Germans will come soon. You must move. Now." Daniel nods, adrenaline returning. "My crew? They landed nearby?" "Others are already helping," the woman says. "The fields are not safe. Patrols search after every raid." The man reaches Daniel and grips his arm firmly. "We take you to the barn. From there, the Maquis will decide." Daniel hesitates just long enough to scan the sky one more time, one last time, for any sign of Keane or Lewis. Only drifting smoke. A distant column rising where the bomber fell. The man tugs him gently. "Please, if they find you here, they kill us all." Daniel swallows his grief and nods. As they hurry through the wheat, the woman glances at him. "Were you the one who fell last?" Daniel nods. "Yeah." She hesitates before saying softly. "Then something fell with you. A small paper. It came down near the creek." Daniel stops dead. "What kind of paper?" "A letter, I think." Her eyes soften. "It caught on a rock." Daniel feels his breath catch. A spark of hope flickers and burns bright. "Where?" he asks. But before she can answer, the man hisses sharply. "Soldiers!" Boots. Distant at first, growing louder. A German patrol. Daniel presses himself against the wheat as the woman whispers, "If the letter is yours, we can retrieve it once they pass. But you must survive first." He nods, heart pounding. The letter is out there, and as long as he's alive, there is still a chance it may reach home. German boots crunch through the wheat. Daniel drops low, pressing himself flat against the damp earth. The French couple crouches beside him, the woman trembling silently while the man scans the field with sharp, calculating eyes. Shadows stretch across the wheat as 3 German soldiers emerge onto the dirt path, rifles slung, helmets glinting in the sunlight. One carries a field radio. Another smokes a cigarette, the ember glowing bright in the morning light. They stop only 30 yards from where Daniel hides. The cigarette soldier exhales a lazy plume of smoke. "Amerikanische Fallschirme," he mutters, pointing toward the parachutes scattered across the field. The radio operator adjusts his headset. "Command says at least 4 bailed out. They want them alive." "Alive?" the third snorts. "Then we'd better find them before the villagers do." Daniel's jaw tightens. He feels the woman beside him clutch her skirt, her breath shaky. The man lays a protective hand over hers. The cigarette soldier flicks ash into the wheat and starts walking toward Norton's abandoned chute. Every step brings him closer. 20 yards. 15. 10. Daniel's fingers twitch toward his sidearm, but the man beside him grips his wrist quickly. "No," he whispers. "If you shoot, they kill us all." The German pauses. He bends down and lifts Norton's parachute harness, examining it. Daniel swallows hard. The soldier frowns. "Warm. He landed recently." His head turns, slowly, toward the wheat where Daniel lies hidden. The stillness becomes unbearable. Then a shout echoes from across the field. "Heinrich, kommen Sie hier!" The cigarette soldier rises, annoyed, tossing the chute aside. "Probably another false alarm," he mutters, and trudges away toward the others. Daniel doesn't breathe until the Germans fade into the distance, their voices swallowed by the wind. The Frenchman turns to him. "We move now." They hurry, crouched through the wheat, moving away from the patrol. Daniel keeps his ears tuned to every shifting stalk, every rustle behind them. His heart thunders like the B-17 engines still echoing in his bones. The woman leads them down a narrow dirt slope toward a quiet creek running between tall reeds. The water sparkles under the rising sun. "There," she whispers, pointing. A scrap of white. Daniel rushes to it, nearly slipping on the wet stones. He drops to his knees in the mud. The folded paper is pinned against a rock by a thin branch, edges soaked but intact. His breath catches. His fingers tremble as he lifts it. The envelope is crumpled, stained with smoke and dirt, but still sealed. Still his. Still meant for home. The woman watches him gently. "It fell softly," she says, "like it wanted to survive." Daniel bows his head over the letter, closing his eyes. For a moment, the war falls silent. Only the creek speaks, whispering around the stones. But the man's voice cuts through softly, urgent. "We cannot linger. A barn nearby, an old cider barn, safe enough for an hour. After that, we get you to the Maquis." Daniel forces himself to stand, clutching the letter so tightly it wrinkles against his palm. "My crew, did you see?" The woman shakes her head sadly. The others were taken toward the woods, some alive, some not. Daniel feels a hollow ache. He nods slowly. Survivors, prisoners, loss. The war rarely gives clean answers. He tucks the letter inside his jacket, closer this time, deep within the inner lining, and secures it with a safety pin from his kit. "Let's move," he says quietly. They climb the slope again, Birds scatter in the trees. The air smells of wet grass and distant smoke. As they near the barn, the man pauses and scans the horizon. Patrols will search the farmhouses next, he warns. We go quickly. The barn squats at the edge of the field, half collapsed. Roof caved in, but lower levels still intact. Inside, the scent of old apples and damp hay lingers. Daniel ducks beneath a broken beam, stepping into the dim interior. It's quiet. Safe for the moment. The woman closes the door behind them. The Maquis meet at dusk, she whispers. If we get you to them, they can move you south, to Spain perhaps, or back to England. Daniel leans against a wooden post, breathing heavily. His hands tremble. His muscles ache. His mind flits between the burning bomber, his fallen crewmates, the Germans prowling the fields, and the letter, the only piece of him that still belongs to home. He pulls it out and stares at the envelope for a long while, the quiet pressing in around him. The woman watches with gentle eyes. Is it for someone special? She asks. Daniel nods. My sister, she's 14. I promised her I'd be home for spring. He swallows. His voice tightens. Apple trees, they'd be blooming soon. The man listens from the doorway, then speaks softly. Then we must make sure she gets that letter, no matter what happens. Daniel closes his fingers around it. He doesn't know yet that this barn, this moment, will become the last peaceful breath he ever takes. Outside, the sound of an engine rumbles, slow, steady, approaching. Not a car, a truck, and not French. German. The rumble of the German truck grows louder. Daniel freezes, every instinct firing at once. The French couple exchange frantic looks. Dust vibrates gently from the rafters as the engine grinds closer along the dirt road. The man edges toward the barn door, peering through a crack in the wooden slats. His face pales instantly. They're stopping, right outside. Daniel's heartbeat hammers against his ribs. He moves silently toward a stack of old apple crates, taking cover behind them. The woman gestures urgently toward a cellar door near the back wall, half hidden under a mound of straw. Daniel shakes his head. If they search, they'll find you too. I'm not hiding while you risk. You're not the only one at risk, the man hisses. We helped you. If they find you here, they kill us with you. The truck shuts off. Boots hit the ground. Two voices, curt, clipped, unmistakably German. Exchange orders. Metal clinks. A rifle bolt slides. The barn door casts a thin shadow as someone approaches. There's no time. Daniel reaches the cellar door, grabs the handle, rusty, stiff, and pulls. It groans loudly. The woman winces, eyes wide, then rushes to help. Together they lift the heavy wooden hatch. A whiff of damp earth rises from below. Go, she whispers. We'll buy you time. Daniel hesitates only a moment. He grips her shoulder. You don't have to. We already have, she says. He drops into the cellar. His boots land on hard dirt. It's dark, pitch black, except for thin shafts of light slipping through the gaps in the floorboards above. The hatch closes. Darkness wraps around him. Dust falls in faint patters as footsteps approach the barn. Daniel crouches low, breathing quietly, hand on the cold steel of his sidearm. Above him, the barn door creaks open. German voices echo across the wooden walls. The leader speaks first, calm, suspicious. We saw parachutes. Someone came through here. The French man answers with steady defiance. We are farmers. The raid woke us. We saw nothing. A pause. Then the sound of boots stepping deeper into the barn. Closer. Daniel presses his back against the dirt wall, listening. Every word, every shuffle, every breath sharpens in the darkness. Search, the German officer commands. Crates are moved. Hay is kicked aside. Metal buckets clatter. Then, boot steps above him. Right above the cellar. The floorboards groan as the German soldier steps onto them. Dust filters down through the cracks, landing softly on Daniel's shoulders. He holds his breath. A silence. A long one. Then the soldier speaks again, this time suspicious. Was ist das? The cellar hatch rattles. A jolt of panic stabs Daniel's chest. The German soldier begins to pull it open, but before the hatch lifts, the Frenchman reacts. Fast, desperate. He barks, our apples, for fermenting. He throws himself between the soldier and the hatch. Old apples, nothing more. Leave them, please. The German pushes him back. Move! Daniel's body tenses. He draws his pistol, ready to fire the moment the hatch opens. Consequences be damned. But then another sound cuts through the tension. A distant explosion. Then another. The Germans pause. A different officer outside the barn shouts something urgent, something about another crash site found in the woods. The soldier above Daniel hesitates, torn between orders. Finally, the commanding voice calls, Leave it, we go. Bootsteps retreat. A door slams. Engines rumble alive. The truck drives off, fading into the distance. The barn falls silent. Daniel exhales shakily, lowering his pistol. A moment later, the hatch creaks open and warm light spills into the cellar. The Frenchman reaches down. Come, quickly, we cannot stay. They will search again. Daniel climbs out. His legs are stiff, his hands trembling with leftover adrenaline. The woman presses a canteen into his hand. Drink? You look faint. He takes a sip. The cold water steadies him. The man pulls a rough wool coat from a hook and hands it to Daniel. Wear this. From a distance, you'll look like a local. The Maquis rendezvous is 2 kilometers through the forest. Daniel nods, slipping the coat on over his flight jacket. Then he feels it again. The letter, pressed against his ribs, unread, unsent, heavy as a beating heart. He looks at the couple, overwhelmed. I don't know how to thank you. The woman smiles sadly. You thank us by living. Daniel shoulders the coat, adjusts the straps of his parachute harness, and prepares to leave the barn. But just as he reaches the door, a rifle shot cracks through the air. The man crumples. The woman screams. Daniel spins toward the fields, eyes wide, heart slamming. The Germans are back. This time, they are not searching. They are hunting. The man collapses onto the dirt floor, a spreading pool of red beneath him. The crack of the rifle still echoes across the barn walls when Daniel lunges forward, instinct overriding shock. Jacques! The woman cries, falling to her knees beside him. Daniel grabs her shoulders, pulling her back toward cover. Stay down! Another rifle shot slams into the barn's wooden siding, sending splinters flying. A German voice shouts an order. More boots, more guns being raised. Daniel's throat tightens. His pulse slams in his ears. The Germans aren't here to question this time. They came back because they realized the truth. They missed someone, and now they intended to kill anything that might have helped him. Jacques gasps, clutching his stomach. Blood bubbles between his fingers. His face goes pale. The woman, Marie, tries to press her apron to the wound, but he weakly shakes his head. Oh, too late. His voice is thin, hollow. Daniel scans the barn. 3 Germans approaching from the field, more flanking the road. No escape out the front. Marie, he whispers sharply. We need the back exit, now. But she doesn't move. She's staring at Jacques, as if the world has narrowed to only him. Jacques reaches up, taking her trembling hand. His voice is barely a breath. Take him to the Maquis? Daniel leans closer. Jacques, just hold on. We can move you, we can... No. The man's eyes sharpen with final clarity. They must not find you, or her. He squeezes Marie's hand one last time. A tear slips down her cheek. Then his chest rises, falls, and doesn't rise again. Marie covers her mouth, stifling a sob. Boots pound closer outside. Daniel grips her shoulders again, voice low and urgent. Marie, we have to go. Jacques died to give us time. Don't waste it. She hesitates, grief tearing at her, but then she nods once, jaw hardening with resolve. Daniel guides her toward the back of the barn, weaving through collapsed beams and broken crates. A 3rd rifle shot tears through the upper wall. Straw drifts down in golden clouds. Shadows move across the barn door. Zwei von Ihnen hinten lang, a German voice orders. 2 of you, around back. Daniel curses under his breath. He draws his pistol, checks the magazine, half full, not enough for what's coming. Marie pushes aside a fallen beam to reveal a small door, half rotten, partly hidden under old planks. Here, she whispers. It leads to the orchard hill. Daniel reaches for the latch, but it doesn't budge. Swollen wood, rusted hinges. It hasn't been opened in years. The Germans pound on the main barn door. Daniel wedges his boot against the frame and pushes. The door gives only an inch. He tries again, bracing with both hands. Another inch. Marie joins him, shoving with all her strength. The wood creaks, groans. A 4th rifle shot punches through the barn wall, inches from Daniel's head. He ducks instinctively. German voices grow louder. Closer. The barn door starts to crack under the force of boots ramming it. Daniel grits his teeth, slams his shoulder into the stuck door, and with Marie's help, it bursts open. Cold morning air rushes in. Beyond the doorway lies the orchard hill. Rows of apple trees blooming in white and pink, petals drifting gently on the wind like falling snow. A cruel reminder of the very thing he promised to return home for. Marie grabs his sleeve. Go! But Daniel shakes his head. You first. She hesitates, then dives through the door and into the orchard. Daniel follows. But before he's 2 steps out, gunfire erupts behind him. Bullets tear into the dirt at his feet. He sprints downhill, weaving between the trees, branches whipping his face, mud sliding under his boots. The Germans shout behind him. Schieß! Schieß! Gunfire cracks through the orchard. Blossoms explode from branches in white bursts. Daniel ducks behind a thick apple tree trunk, breath heaving. Marie crouches behind another tree ahead, eyes wide with terror. Daniel calls softly, Marie, keep moving, stay low. She nods and crawls to the next tree. Daniel peeks around the trunk. 3 Germans crash into the orchard, rifles raised. One points toward their tracks in the mud, another spots movement in the distance. They're getting close. Too close. Daniel grips his pistol. He has one chance to buy Marie time. He waits, breath steady, heart wild. The nearest German steps into view, rifle raised. Daniel fires. The soldier drops. The orchard explodes with gunfire as the remaining Germans return fire. Bark shreds from the tree Daniel hides behind. Wood chips sting his cheek. Daniel fires again, forcing them into cover. Marie, run, he shouts. She bolts down the hill toward the forest beyond. Daniel sprints after her, pistol empty, adrenaline burning bright. Behind him, the Germans reload. The chase is far from over. But for the moment, Marie is alive. He is alive. And the letter presses against his chest with every desperate step he takes. A reminder that some promises must be kept, even if it costs everything. Daniel and Marie sprint toward the dark line of trees, the forest rising like a fortress of shadows at the edge of the orchard. Gunfire rips through the apple blossoms behind them. Branches snap. Blossoms fall like snow. Daniel feels every breath burning in his lungs, every muscle screaming. But he pushes harder, forcing his legs to move faster than fear itself. Marie stumbles on a root. Daniel grabs her arm, pulls her up, never slowing. "Almost there," he gasps. Behind them, German boots pound the ground. Their shouts close in, echoing between the apple trees. The forest swallows Daniel and Marie in a wall of cold shade. Light disappears. Branches claw at their jackets. The ground is uneven, turning every step into a gamble. Marie stops suddenly, doubling over, gasping. I can't." "Yes, you can," Daniel says firmly, gripping her shoulders. "Just a little farther." A bullet ricochets off a nearby tree trunk with a vicious crack. Marie screams. Daniel pulls her down behind a fallen log. Leaves shower over them. German voices echo through the orchard, closer now, fanning out. "They won't stop," Marie whispers, trembling. "They'll kill us both." Daniel checks his pistol. Empty. He exhales slowly. "Not if I stop them first." Marie grabs his sleeve. "You can't. You'll die." Daniel looks at her, truly looks at her, her eyes red from crying, her hands still shaking from Jacques' death. A civilian dragged into a war she didn't choose. He rests a hand over his jacket, over the letter he had pinned to his chest. "I'm not making it home," he says quietly. "But you can?" Marie's face breaks. No, please." Daniel presses the letter into her hands. "If you make it to the Maquis, they'll get you to safety. Give this to them. They'll know how to send it." Her fingers curl around the letter, knuckles white. "Daniel, I can't." "You can," he says. "You must." Another shout echoes through the trees. Daniel stands. Marie's breath catches. "Daniel, don't..." He pulls a German rifle from the fallen soldier back in the orchard, the one he shot moments before. Checks the bolt, one round chambered. "Run," he tells her softly. "Go now." Marie stares at him, eyes shimmering with heartbreak, then finally nods and runs deeper into the forest, clutching the letter to her chest as though it were his beating heart. Daniel waits until she disappears into the trees. Then he turns, steps out from behind the log, and faces the oncoming German patrol. They freeze, momentarily startled to see an American soldier standing alone among the trees, battered and bleeding but upright, weapon raised. Daniel lowers the rifle slightly. "Not surrender. Resolve," he whispers to himself, almost smiling. "Anna, I kept the promise I could." Then he raises the rifle and fires. The forest erupts, a thunder of rifles, a flash of muzzle fire. The smell of gunpowder floods the cold air. Daniel Rowe falls to his knees, then to the forest floor, sunlight flickering through the leaves above him. His final breath leaves his chest quietly, almost peacefully. The world fades. But the letter, the promise he carried through fire and sky, lives on. And it is still moving forward, to the Maquis, to the resistance, to the coast, across the channel. And finally, months later, to a small house under blooming apple trees, where a 14-year-old girl breaks down at the kitchen table, clutching the last words her brother ever wrote.